The feedback I've gotten over the years from attendees is that while the material is powerful and it impacts their businesses, they just don't get enough. So they say to me, if only we could spend more time with you and the other presenters and really pick your brain, absorb the knowledge that you have to share, and get hands-on training. So to satisfy this need, I created Success GPS programs.
If you're here, it's because you want to succeed.
Being the fact that it's a hands-on workshop, we are getting a ton of value in terms of gaining more clarity for our business and approaching ways to wow the clients and customers that we do have.
Some of the Success GPS events are short, single-day experiences, a couple of hours, but our premier event is an extended, hands-on, experiential retreat. Business owners can come, spend 3 full days locked down and learning everything they need to know to be successful in business and in life.
Everybody up, I'll come out and get you. You over there too, up, up, up. See, if you already sit down, then you've already flunked, which means you've already given up.
Industry leaders that are here today that are so authentic and passionate about being of service to others. It sort of opens my heart and my mind to being really possible and staying on the right track.
I've spent 25 years listening to thousands of speakers, looking for the best of the best. Of all these, I handpicked this lineup of amazing speakers because I knew that they would bring it and that they would put it all on the line with their heart and soul to create an amazing experience for our attendees. In addition, all of the presenters are passionate about helping small businesses and entrepreneurs succeed and take the time on and off the stage for every attendee to get what they need to go to that next level. So I say show up, follow up, and lift up. Give back and don't ever, I don't care where you are in life, if you think you haven't arrived somewhere to where you can't give something back, you're wrong. It's the exact opposite. The minute you start stepping, bring someone with you.
Don't even hesitate, get here, do it. Be here, be the first one signed up, sit in the front row, get all the information. And it will be mind-blowing. It'll just be, it's a game changer to be here. It's just a game changer.
So don't miss the experience live and in person. Go to register at successgpsseminars.com for our upcoming event. And in the meantime, get ready to be inspired.
I'm not necessarily a business strategist, okay? I'm an executive coach. I'm a trainer. I'm a keynote speaker. The event that brought me to Ankara, Turkey, and then on to Istanbul was for an organization I do a lot of work with called PMI, Project Management Institute. So that's kind of my tribe, right? I work with highly technical people who tend to be people challenged. So emotional intelligence has become kind of the cornerstone of what I do. And you know, it's always very interesting to see these engineers, project managers, people like that, software programmers, learning how to connect, you know, not just here, but really connecting here and creating relationship, because that's what's required. You know, relationship is not an intellectual exercise. If it is, you're doing it wrong, okay? But it's also led me on this amazing journey that I'll tell you a little bit more about later. But to start, I have to give you a warning. I'm one of those guys that I love to take complicated subjects and make them as easily understandable as possible. So when you're talking to a group of engineers and programmers about emotional intelligence, that is really what's required. Any engineers in the group, just by chance? Any? Yeah, so there's a couple. Cool. So you guys know what I'm talking about. It's not their native tongue, right? So I like to take things that are very complicated and make them as simple and understandable as possible. But here's the other thing. None of what you're going to hear today is going to be new to you. Okay, there's the big idea. None of this is going to be new to you. So you're going to hear some things and you're going to go, duh. So just practice that right now. Duh. Oh, you guys are good. But here's the thing. You may have heard it before. You may understand it. But if you're not doing it, you don't know it. Okay? So that's going to be my challenge to you as I share some of my insights. And I'm just going to share a little bit. I mean, EQ is a huge topic. I've been studying it for 2 decades now. And I still don't know as much as I need to know or as much as I want to know. So how much can I do in 30 minutes? I can do a little bit of damage. We'll have some fun with it. But just ask yourself as we go through this, am I doing these things? Or how am I doing these things? How does this impact me? Okay?
And so on this warning, this no-brainer thing, remember, I'm going to say some things, you're going to go, yeah, tell me something I didn't already know. I have 3 amazing kids. My oldest is 32. She's given me now 2 grandsons. They're just the joys of my life, along with my children. And I have an 18-year-old daughter who just graduated high school and a 15-year-old son. And my 2 kids who are still at home, they have some interesting nicknames for me, and one of them is Captain Obvious. So again, you're going to hear those duh moments. You're going to, Captain Obvious, thanks a lot, pal. But just bear with me, because again, if you're not doing it, you don't know it. So let's move on. What is emotional intelligence? None of the experts, there's some experts in this room, but just somebody shout out, what do you think emotional intelligence is? Oh, now you're stumped. Understanding people, empathy. What else? How well you understand the emotions someone else is feeling. How you understand somebody's motives and drives. Okay, good. Yeah. Was it? Willing to respond instead of react, and willing to communicate with others. Yeah, all those are great answers. Here's how I distill it. One of my favorite definitions of emotional intelligence comes from Annie McKee, who has written books with Daniel Goleman, who is kind of credited as being the person who has brought emotional intelligence into the consciousness of the world, really, and certainly of corporate America. She says emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions while at the same time having a positive impact on the emotions of others. Now, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, do you think that might be a good thing for you to know? How to understand and manage your own emotions while also having a positive impact on the emotions of others. Is that a yes? Yes. So where do we learn about our emotions? Who taught us emotions? Where'd you learn? Anyone? Parents. Were your parents emotionally intelligent? No. Yeah. Hey, listen, we call it as we see it, right? I mean, I love my parents, but they weren't the most emotionally intelligent people. And then, of course, siblings, teachers, friends, peer groups, later in life, bosses, colleagues. And, you know, the interesting thing is we are emotional beings. We are not creatures of logic. Dale Carnegie said it. When dealing with people, remember, you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion. But as soon as we hear that word emotion, especially in the context of work, we do this. Oh, no. We check those at the door. We don't bring that in here. Yeah, good luck with that. Let me know how that's working for you. They are a part of us. They're part of our nature. Emotions are a part of our everyday life. And the more we deny them and the more we repress them, the worse the quality of your life is going to be. You know, the opening slide said, your emotions determine your destiny. They absolutely do, because they determine your quality of life. And if you don't know how to understand and assess and manage your own emotions, listen, leadership starts right here. If I call myself a leader, and yes, I do, if I call myself a leader, I have to lead me first. And part of that is understanding how I operate in the world and how I manage my emotions and what kind of impact I have on the people around me. So just keep that in mind as we continue through today. So why should you care? Even if you're a solopreneur, why should you care? And I'm a solopreneur. I have contractors who work for me. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you distill it down. I don't have a single employee. I'm a one-man band. But I need to care about this stuff. What about business? How do I do business if I can't build a relationship with somebody? And how do I build a relationship? Do I do it on an intellectual level, or do I do it here? I've been watching throughout the first 2 days here, and I watch how people have been connecting here, because that's my business. That's what I do as a coach. I observe people. I'm a student of human nature. And I've been watching these wonderful relationships start to form from nowhere. From a simple hi and, oh, hey, what's your name? And you're sitting at tables together with people that you've never met before, and something starts to happen. See, we're wired for that. We are absolutely wired for it, and most of us don't take advantage of it. Bill said it, Alex said it, so many of us, Laurel said it. Relationships are the foundation of a great business. But you can't have great relationships if you don't have great emotional intelligence. So you should care. because you will never have as successful a business as you can have if you don't understand how to really monitor and understand and express your emotions in a positive, constructive way. So I want to tell you just a short story. I don't like to talk about myself. Those of you who've heard me speak before, you'll know this to be true. But let's just go back 10 years ago. I had been in a company for 25 years, had a very good job, making a lot of money, worked for one of the world's largest gaming manufacturers. I had been designing and building slot machines for 2.5 decades. I was a leader in that company. I was well respected, and I was empty. I was absolutely bereft of meaning and purpose in what I did. And I would go home every night and say those words you never want to say as a worker or as a business owner or as a human being. Is this all there is? And there was this little spark inside of me that said, no, you're meant for more. And one day, one of my employees came to me and said, you need to leave. She goes, you need to leave here. Yeah, what? Excuse me? I'm sorry, was this thing on? Hello? She said, no, what you do for us, you need to go out there in the world and do for other people. She goes, I've never been with somebody who is so astute at understanding our talents and helping us grow in a direction that's meaningful to us versus putting us in a slot that we don't fit in and trying to make us do a better job. And that sparked something in me. And I was scared to death. Anybody ever been scared to death? Yeah. One of my heroes in life, St. Pope John Paul II, said, you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness. And everybody in here has it in them. Everybody. But we're so afraid of it. Marianne Williamson said it even better. She goes, it's not our darkness that we're most afraid of. It's our light. Because we ask, who am I to be beautiful, brilliant, talented, and gorgeous? Who are you not to be? Right? So we shy away from that. And I was scared to death, but I knew there was something in my heart and in my soul that said, this is what's next for me. And I started down that path. I started working toward it, and I had to harness that fear. Fear is one of the strongest emotions. Fear is absolutely one of the strongest emotions. And it can really drive you forward, or it can knock you down and keep you stuck. And I had a choice to make. And now, fast forward 10 years later, here I am on Jennifer's stage. Yay. But I've been around the world speaking to audiences that I would have never had access to. My friends, because I still have friends at this old company, they'll see me and they'll go, they see my posts on Facebook, they get my social media blitz, they get my newsletters, they go, who are you? I'm like, this is who I always was. I just didn't believe in myself. I let fear stop me from moving forward. You can all do whatever it is you want to do if you just find the courage, the passion, the drive. We've talked about the outer game of business for a day and a half now. Been absolutely brilliant strategy from amazing speakers. We also have to have the inner game. If you don't master the inner game of business, you are not going to excel and you're not going to be able to create a sustainable business, because at some point those fears and challenges and frustrations are going to overtake you again, and you find yourself fighting the same dragons over and over and over. They really want to talk to me. So let's talk about the 4 dimensions of EQ. Please hold my calls. There's 4 dimensions to emotional intelligence. The first one is self-awareness. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of people in my life who are really self-unaware. Yes? Yes? You guys know those people, right? You go, you were kind of like blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, that's not how I was. We have a hard time seeing inside. We have a hard time turning the lens in and really recognizing, because there's 2 perceptions. There's how I think I'm experienced, and then there's how I am experienced. And they usually don't jive. So self-awareness is an important component. Self-management. How well do we manage those negative impulses? You ever been sitting across from somebody and they're talking at you, you just want to reach across and slap them in the face? Or am I the only one? Come on, you guys have all done it. How do you manage that? How do you, because here's the thing. You may not slap them physically, but sometimes we slap them verbally, don't we? Yeah?
I can't help myself.
Yeah.
I just need to slap somebody verbally.
What?
I'm an instructor, and I have students who talk in the background of my class. And everybody does.
Thank you. Yes. All right. Wow. That was emotional self-expression for those of you who didn't get that. So thank you for modeling that for us. Self-management, right? So good. Social awareness, relationship management. I'm not going to talk about those two today as much. I really want to go into the self part because there's two components of emotional intelligence. There's self and others. You guys are all leaders here. If you get the self part right, the others part is going to take care of itself. So self-awareness, how accurately do I read my emotions? Do I know my strengths and limitations? One of my favorite movies, or one of my favorite actors from the 70s was Clint Eastwood, right? And he did those Dirty Harry movies. And he would look into the camera and he goes, a man's got to know his limitations, right? But how well do we know those? Well, sometimes those limitations are self-imposed. They're not real. But we do have to know our strengths. I mean, if I come out here and I say, I want to be a great keynote speaker, but if I stand in front of two people and my knees start shaking, I mean, how well am I going to do at that, right? I got to know my strengths and my limits. And if I don't have the strengths to do the thing I most want to do, well, then I got to get some training. I got to do some skill building, right? Self-confidence. Where does self-confidence come from? Doing it over and over. Preparation. Self-esteem. Self-esteem and self-confidence are kissing cousins. They're intimately tied together. Okay? So those are the self piece, the self-awareness piece. And then self-management, keeping those disruptive impulses under control. How do we remain adaptable and flexible? How do we remain optimistic and see the upside? I have been called Pollyanna so many times. And you know what? I don't care. I love it. I'm fine with that. I would rather see the bright side than the dark side. Listen, the optimist built the airplane, the pessimist built the parachute. Let's just be clear. So there's a place for both. But I want to talk to you today about what I call the core four. For me, I mean, there are so many. Here's the thing I love about emotional intelligence, because it's a very nebulous, if you haven't really taken a deep dive into it, it's kind of a nebulous topic. What is emotional intelligence? We all have emotions, but we're not always very intelligent about how we use them, how we experience them. The cool thing about emotional intelligence is there are actual skills and competencies that you can learn. Now, studies have shown conclusively that after a certain period of time, your IQ, your cognitive intelligence, does not improve. It does not substantially rise. You can learn new things, certainly, but your relative IQ does not change. It's fixed. EQ, however, can be learned and developed and grown. And I'm standing here because I have grown my EQ skills, and I continue to do so. Is it easy? Oh, hell no. Because guess what? Listen, you guys are all entrepreneurs. Tell me if you think this is true. The two things that will bring out your, can I use adult language here? Is that okay? The two things that will bring out your crap quicker than anything, getting into a relationship and starting a business. Come on, right? So I was already in a relationship. I was married and, 2 kids at home and one out on her own when I decided to take this dive off the cliff. And man, did all my stuff come right back. I was like, oh, hello, we're still here. We're still here. We never left. Now, how do you handle that, right? So this is what we want to talk about, the core four that I call them. The first one is optimism. These are absolutely essential for any entrepreneur, for any business owner, for any leader in an organization to master. Optimism. How optimistic are you? So as you sit down, like for those of us who were here, we were all here for Laurel, but like I had an interesting thing going on in my head because while people are talking, guess what? You're still talking to yourself too, right? So there's multiple conversations going on in this room. Let's be clear about that. And I found there was this really fascinating conversation going on in my head because I have been working so hard on my relationship to money for decades because I had a horrible relationship to money. I didn't believe I was deserving or worthy or that I could make enough money. And yet, all the evidence would point to the contrary, and yet I got in my own way. And as I listened, I started thinking, wow, how optimistic am I about my ability to generate consistent revenue? I mean, I'm doing it, but am I really optimistic about it? And so for you, like when you look at your business, you look at your plans, we've all been talking about plans here, right? How do we take our business to that next level? When you look at that, do you find yourself suddenly going to worst case scenario? maybe you're not as optimistic as you think. Now, certainly be prudent. Do your due diligence, but don't stay stuck there. Because here's what I will tell you, where focus goes, energy flows. It's not my law, it's the law of the universe. Where focus goes, energy flows. When you hear people like Bill Walsh and Alex Stern and Laurel Langmeyer and Jennifer Baker, and you hear others talking about how they've generated all this wealth and abundance and success, it's because they focus their energy on it. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't have challenges, right? I love this quote by Helen Keller. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Now, hope is not a strategy. Let's be clear about that. But it is an essential component of you moving forward as a successful entrepreneur. So check your optimism quotient. Do I tend to look at worst case scenario, or do I look for what's right? You know, the optimist and the pessimist, here's the biggest difference. The pessimist has a better, they're better at understanding their strengths and their abilities. But as soon as the pessimist hits those challenges, they stop, they give up. They go, well, I guess I wasn't meant to do that. The optimist looks at it and goes, yeah, let me look at it from this side. What else do I need to do? How can I try it? Like, you know, we all heard the stories, right? About Edison and Colonel Sanders and all these people who spent years trying to make it. And every time they failed, they just looked at it and said, yeah, so that didn't work. So what do I want to do differently this time? That's optimism, ladies and gentlemen. Who do you want to follow? The person who goes, yeah, I guess it's never going to happen. Might as well pivot. Go back and get a job. Or the person who goes, you know what? We got the people in this room who can solve this problem. I know that we got this. This is daunting, yes. Let's call it what it is, but we're going to make this. We're going to make it happen. Who would you rather follow? I know who I would. Resilience. Oh, I love that face. Resilience. How resilient are you in the face of challenges? Anybody here have challenges in your life? Just show of hands. Yeah. Yeah, 2, right? Some of us have 2, right? Yes. And if we could raise both our legs, we would do that too, right? That's fine. We were made for greatness, not for comfort. Challenge is a part of the equation, ladies and gentlemen. What do you do when you face those challenges? How resilient are you? We heard Manny this morning. Is that the epitome of resilience? I mean, I can't say anything about it because this guy's lived it and he continues to live it. And he's showing the world what it means. And, you know, I bow before you, my brother. This guy is amazing. Some of us have resilient strategies. I don't know, is that your strategy? We just open up a cylinder and go, yeah, it'll take care of itself. But what do you do when you face those inevitable challenges? How do you bounce? Not back. Bless you. I was waiting for that second one. I knew it was coming. How do you bounce forward? How do you bounce forward? Because why would you want to bounce back? You've already been there. Let's bounce forward. How do we become more resilient? For me, one of the most important strategies I've learned is meditation. Any meditators in this room? I know there are. Oh yeah, good, right? What does it do? It just gets you recentered. It calms your mind. It quells. Here's the thing about resilience. We look at people like the Alex and the Bills and the Laurels and the Jennifers and we go, wow, they're so amazing. They must not be afraid of anything. Well, guess what? I have worked with titans of business over the last 10 years. I've worked with incredible coaches, trainers, speakers. Every one of them is afraid. They just don't let it dominate them, right? I'm afraid. I was afraid before I walked up here. So what? What am I going to do? Am I just going to sit on my hands and go, I'm scared? You know, everybody gets scared. Maybe I did that when I was little. But it's like you can channel that. You can harness the energy. What's the difference between nervous and excited? Breath. But they're both basically the same energy, right? You feel them in the same parts of your body. So what about up here if I go, wow, you know, because Joe even asked me, he goes, how you doing? I go, I'm excited. And in my gut, it's going, butterflies, butterflies, butterflies. Don't throw up, you just ate lunch. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. I've done this before. No. But you know, it's how you communicate to yourself too that determines whether you keep moving forward or not. Self-actualization. Why are you here? Why are you here? Anyone? to learn, to improve, to grow, to connect. Yeah. Yeah. We're here to become more than what we already are. But sometimes we see that more as way out there in the distance. You know, we have this amazing thing. We're the only creature on the planet that thinks about our future. Did you guys know that? Dogs and cats, animals, wild animals, they don't think about, well, what am I going to do tomorrow? I guess I'm going to, squirrels going, I guess I'm going to eat more nuts. I don't know, this is what we do. Or, we're the only creature on the planet that thinks about and contemplates our future. And then we get scared because we create monsters that don't exist. But self-actualization is about how can I continue to learn, grow? Am I attached to my purpose? If your purpose is not intimately attached to your business, you're going to have a problem there. You're going to have a little bit of a challenge. Because what happens when you hit those inevitable obstacles? What keeps you going? It's that big why. And everybody who's been up here has talked about the why. Everybody. Bring that in to what you do. So do you know what drives you? Let's do a little exercise. So everybody stand up. This is the only time we were going to do a physical exercise, but please stand. Because we're going to find out what drives you. All right? So everybody, just spread your arms out like this, hands open. And when I tell you, I want you to bring your hands together and clasp them like that. I clearly said when I tell you. But see, listen, they're like, we're entrepreneurs, let's go. All right, so on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, clasp your hands. Just hold them like that. Now, if your left thumb is on top of your right thumb, 30 years of psychological research has shown that the driving force in your life is love and connection. You have amazing relationships, and you are an incredible lover. There's a lot of pride in this room. It's like, yeah, baby. I know, right? Uh-huh. Especially, you notice how the guys are like, yeah, I told you. Doug's looking at his wife going, I told you I was good. Now, that same research showed that if your right thumb is on top of your left thumb, the driving force in your life is significance, and in your lifetime you will make an impact and you will be financially free. Woohoo! So how many of you out there are having the thumb war? Do I want the sex or the money? The sex or the money? Now, if your thumbs don't cross, they just line up like this, you think you're rich, sexy, and beautiful, but you're none of those things and you never will be. Sorry. That's it. Sit down. I just wanted to make sure you guys stay awake. Stress. Stress tolerance. How well do you tolerate stress? Stress tolerance is an absolute essential component because how often do you face stress? How often? Every single day, all throughout. Yeah. I mean, and there are certain levels of stress, right? We know, like for us as human beings, we need stress. We wouldn't get out of bed if we didn't have some stress, right? Now we need that acute stress. We have a deadline. I had the acute stress of having to stand up here and speak after following all those amazing speakers before. It's like, whew. And yet, here I am. I responded to the call. Now, there's a difference between acute stress and chronic stress. Chronic stress is what you don't want because chronic stress eats away at the quality of your life and it actually has debilitating health impacts. But we need that acute stress. We need those deadlines. We need those contracts to come in. We need those new businesses to sign up with us. We need those new clients. And that's okay. That's called motivation, ladies and gentlemen. That's what keeps us going. But if you don't tolerate it well, then no matter how many new clients you get, it's never going to be enough. No matter how much revenue you generate, it's not going to feel like enough. And you're going to be stuck in this cesspool, this whirlpool of stress and anxiety. And it will drag you down. Stress is a killer, but you can manage that. Okay? Start to work on these strategies. Those core 4, optimism, resilience, self-actualization, stress tolerance, we need to be able to develop responses to those. So like, what's your typical response? Just do a little internal right now. Just think for a minute. Think about the last time that you had some kind of stressful situation that presented itself, whether it's in work or in your personal life. Doesn't matter. Just bring it to the front of mind. Got one? And now ask yourself, how did I respond to that? And how did it feel? What were my thoughts? Because whatever emotion you felt in that moment, you created it. How many times have we said to someone, you made me mad? No one can make you anything. They can make you a pepperoni pizza, which I would welcome. I like pizza. But they can't make you feel anything that you don't give them permission to. So think about your relationship to stress and how you respond to it. So let's talk really quickly about shifting your emotions. Now, again, if you're not very good, if you're doing an honest assessment, you go, yeah, I got a couple of those things I do okay, and some of them I'm not very good at. Well, that's good. That's okay. That's information. It's not judgment. It's not criticism. Get out of your head. It's information. Where can I focus my attention in the coming days, weeks, months? And it doesn't mean that you go from being the hardcore angry responder to a Zen monk in 2 weeks, because it ain't going to happen. I've tried. But what it does mean is every day, can you be 1% better than you were yesterday? Does that seem achievable? 1% better? And think about the quality of your relationships. Think about the quality of your life. Think about the quality of your business when you start to do that. So let's talk about how we shift our emotions. First thing is we have to shift our focus. See, what happens to us is something occurs and we have a thought. So that's where our focus goes immediately. This happened. So the question is, did that happen to me or did that happen for me? There's your focus. Shifting your focus, here's the thing. We talk about it, we have to change our thoughts. Change your thoughts, change your world. We heard Wayne Dyer say that. He wrote a best-selling book, which I love. But the challenge is we're not very good at managing and monitoring our thoughts. We're pretty lazy when it comes to thoughts. We really are. We're pretty lazy. And it takes a tremendous amount of willpower when we're thinking about the fact that this client didn't sign when they promised they were going to sign today, and I'm waiting for that check, and I've got a mortgage to pay, and boom, boom, and we stay focused on that. So shifting your focus takes willpower, but it can be done. So that's the first thing you do. Shift your focus. It's not don't think about it. It's just shift your focus. It's like they talk about meditation. It's not clearing your mind, because the only time your mind is clear is when you're dead. Just to be clear about that. But it's like watching leaves float down a river. And those leaves are like your thoughts. And you can't watch them for very long because they're out of view. So if your thoughts flow in and flow out, you don't have to be attached. That's the first thing, shift your focus. Second thing, shift your physiology and breathing. Shift your physiology and breathing. Now here's how we tend to go to work, and this is what we're doing all day. We're sitting and we're hunched over and we're on our computers and we're talking on our phones and we're doing all this stuff and we're not breathing. You've got to get up. And if I wasn't out of time, we would do this together, but I want you to do this when I'm done, because you're going to have a few seconds between me and the next speaker. Stand up, breathe, put your shoulders back, take a full deep breath, and guys, don't worry about your belly expanding because the ladies aren't watching. They don't expect to see six-pack abs. Nobody's watching. Let your belly expand, because if it doesn't, then you're not breathing full. Because your belly should expand first and then your chest, because of the way your lungs are designed. And your diaphragm goes down. It's a physiological fact. So get in your body. Breathe. Move. Move your body. Shake your arms and legs out. Get some energy in you. That's the second thing. Shift your physiology and breathing. The third, and the most important, shift your language. What do you say to yourself when you make a mistake? What do you say when the deal goes south? What do you say when you're up against it and you've got payroll to meet and you've got taxes to pay and the clients aren't coming in at a fast enough rate and I'm not closing enough deals? What's this chatter saying to you? Do you say things in the silence of your own mind that you would never allow another human being to say to you? Maybe. Why is it okay? Because it's you? Would you ever say those words to a child? Well, guess what? Your child is listening. Your inner child is always with you. That little Johnny or Susie or Kevin who grew up hearing, you're a bad boy, you're not good enough, you did it wrong, you made a mistake. And we just keep perpetuating that voice. We have to be willing to shift our language. Talk to ourselves in a loving, compassionate way. If you change any one of those three things, it will shift your emotions. If you change all three, it's like right now. It is powerful. So start working on these. Start working on these. Now, I would say we would have questions, but I know we're at the end. So I just want to say, I'm done. Captain Obvious. Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be here the rest of today. I'll be here tomorrow. If you have questions, come see me. I'm more than happy to meet you, answer any questions you might have. Thank you for your time and attention.